Hi, welcome back to the Interceptor, and we are here with War number 8 of Season 48, and Matrix has matched up against DD13. Today we have the team of Hood, Strife, and Moleman, the full Hood Trinity, and this is going to be not only the closest war that I've participated in recently, but also the closest war I've seen in a long time. I have seen wars that were tied, that were decided on fight time that was less than 50 seconds. Way back. This is not that close, but it is insanely close. And the way that this war ends is crazy. So, as soon as I got my assignments, I hopped in and I did my first fight on Path 6, Section 1. Because while Hood can do Ebony Maw on this next node, the node forces you to play it in a really weird way. So I asked my officer if he could split that path with someone using Silk, because I knew for a fact that we needed Silk for one of the mini bosses. And he said sure, and he was able to do that, which was awesome. But here I boosted up and I'm taking the rest of my fights. I wanted to take the fights before I went to bed, but unfortunately I did have to take them in the morning, because by the time I went to bed, the mini boss node 46 had not been cleared yet, and I needed it open so I could take 48. And since I was not blocking anyone from doing their fights, there was no reason I couldn't go to bed. And it wouldn't be an issue. In fact, the guy that was taking the boss didn't even take it until like 3.5 hours after I took my fights. So it was not an issue whatsoever. But here, I just kind of talked over this. I normally skip through the masteries changes, but because it's right at the start of the war, I figured why not? Just leave it in. So I took off Mystic Dispersion because I have 2 fights that I want Mystic Dispersion off for, and then I'm going to bring it back. These first 2 fights here on Path 1, Section 2, the Mystic Dispersion doesn't really matter. There are buffs on the second fight, but it's so minimal that it doesn't really make an impact. Now, of course, Dead Widow here is a little bit of an awkward matchup for Hood, because anytime that you activate Miss, you are going to activate the Evade. And here I'm trying to activate my invisibility. Here I got all my prowesses. There, she threw SP1 into the block. She was being kind of annoying with her SP1s in this fight, but that's fine. And then there I tried to parry, mistimed it, got hit. I'm going to get hit one more time in this fight. I still have not activated my invisibility, but I guess I just choose to go for an L2. Here I just go parry heavy. And I was not too worried about this fight at any point, but I think I'm going to make one tiny mistake here trying to throw my heavy. Yeah. So unfortunately, what I should have done is I should have just baited a dash and thrown a striker to get the striker stun up. I shouldn't have tried to phase any hits or parried, because if I parried, there's a risk of them throwing the special, but didn't matter. Cost me a couple potions. Didn't really worry about that. This Korg, this is actually a rank 3 7-star Korg, unfortunately. But the nice thing about this is that the attacker tactic is actually going to allow me to completely shrug off his ability to shrug off. Or, yeah, I'm going to completely prevent his ability to shrug off, rather. But this is, of course, buffet, so I'm going to be careful to trigger Dex before I throw my special there. But the rest of the times in this fight, it is going to get eaten up. And I don't know why I was not going for phase intercepts when I had the chance, because I definitely had my chance to do it, and I just messed up. There, I didn't want my hexes to fall off, so I intentionally... So I didn't want them to fall off, so I intentionally took damage from his rock thorns one time, because if I'd gone for 4 light attacks there to remove all his charges, my hexes would have expired without getting detonated. And right there, he just hit through my miss, and it was just very unfortunate because he got 2 and L3, and even I even had an invuln boost on, but he did a couple hits in the combo before he threw his L3, so my invuln boost was already gone. So we are down to 50% health. This was never really a scary fight because I would have had to mess up just as bad a second time to make this fight dangerous, but I still made this fight a lot more complicated than it needed to be. This should have been like a 50-second nuke with Hood where I throw like 4 SP2s and then I parry heavy, and the fight would have been over. But instead, I decided to make it a lot more complicated, and the fight takes just about 2 minutes. There, I thought he was dashing at me. I don't know why I thought he was dashing at me, because like he completely was not, but it's fine. This fight, yeah, it just went on too long, really. And I'd love to get a redo on this fight because I know I could probably do it in less than half the time on a second try. And I would just focus on controlling the fight a little better. You don't have to worry about the global in that fight because Hood, or Korg rather, is not a global defender. But you know what? The fight goes down, and despite the fact that it took a long time, I still ended over half health. I was never in huge danger in the fight. It was just that one mistake, really, that took away all of the health I lost in the entire fight. So here we have Gorr, and I am trying to make 1 SP1 boost last for all 3 fights, so I'm going to be trying to be fast here. This is actually going to be the cleanest I've done this fight in this meta, in the indestructible meta. It was just a really clean fight. Like, I don't really have anything to say. It's just that it went a lot smoother. My SP2 was getting me enough power to constantly be getting back into L2s over and over again. And here I decided to throw a third L2. I don't know if a heavy attack there would have killed, but it turns out it doesn't matter because he's just dead here. So I just go for a heavy attack, and I end the fight in what, 28 seconds. So that was a really nice fight. This next fight here, Gladiator on hazard shift, is not going to go quite as well, but it's still going to go very well. It's still a relatively clean fight with the one mistake that I make. You'll see. You'll see, okay? I try to throw a heavy attack when I should not have been trying to throw a heavy attack. Here, I'm actually going to get extremely unlucky. That shrug off of my parry only had about a 30% chance of activating. So I just simply got insanely unlucky there. Because there's a very high chance that 2 prowesses shuts down Conflictor. But it's fine. You know what? We're controlling the fight. We still have the Fate Seal up to prevent hazard shift. Here I'm going to throw 1 L2, and then I am going to go for a heavy attack right here. But I didn't realize I hit the parry. So here I'm just going to charge heavy again because I hadn't missed any hits in that phase. So the chance to miss was still 100%. So it was not a risk at all. But yeah, he just threw his SP1 a couple times, once into my block and once into my phase, so I wasn't really too worried about that. But this fight here, this is actually a really nice fight. This is a rank 5 Ascended Nova, and before I do my fight, I did just check how long was left in my SP1 boost, because if it was going to expire, I would much rather take this fight with an SP1 boost and no Mystic Dispersion than with Mystic Dispersion and no SP1 boost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a couple small potions here, heal up Hood, and go in against this Nova. And the plan here is really straightforward, and this is just an insanely smooth fight. I spend 1 combo hitting into the block to get prowess, hit a parry, and at this point, he's like completely controlled. He's not going to have a single chance to throw a bar of power in the rest of this fight before he dies. So we're going to throw 1 L2, gets us back to an L2 from power backs, throw a second L2, back to another L2, a third L2, and he's dead. That's how simple the fight is. That was a rank 5 ascended Nova boss on node 48. Just absolutely ripped to shreds. So, this war, because of how close it was and how stressful of a war this was, both myself and other people from my alliance were taking screenshots of the war score as the war progressed. So, this was right after I finished my fights. Like, I literally took this less than 20 seconds after those fights ended. And at the time, we were winning on attacker kills but losing in defender kills. And we thought we would win this war at this point. We thought if they're dying 6 times on 90 fights, they'll probably die about 10, 11 times, and I doubt we die again in the last 16 fights. And then I'll go forward a bit. We get all the way to 144 fights, and we still have not died any more times, and they're at 102 kills. So 12 more fights, and they've died 1 more time. And then we get to 150. They get to 135, and it's now a tie. But look at the fight duration. We are at 10.8k, and we've finished. They are at 9.6k, and they have 15 fights left. So if you do 10,800 minus 9,600 divided by 15, it means that if they finish all 15 remaining fights in an average of 1 minute and 20 seconds without dying, they win the war. So let's skip forward again. 145, they still haven't died. But they're keeping the pace. They're keeping the pace of 1 minute 20. Because at this point, with 5 fights left, they have 600 seconds. 149 fights left. They have 1 remaining fight. If they solo, and the fight takes less than, 258 seconds. So that's like 4 minutes. If they solo the fight in less than 4 minutes, they win. Their last fight of the war. Let's go to the next slide. He died. He died with 10% health left on Killmonger. Look at this. That tiny sliver of health won us the war. And on their final fight, they died. Now, the fight duration did pass our time, but I don't know who he used, so I can't speculate on like if they had to ramp again, depending on who it is. I don't know who the attacking champion was. But we won. Because they died in their 150th and final fight. And I can't believe we won this war. I went out to lunch today, and before I got there, I checked my phone, and I saw this was the last update I got. There was 5 fights left, and I thought we'd lost this war. I was like, okay, you know what? The war's over. Sucks because we gave one of our best performances of the season. Not one of the best. By far our best. I think our next lowest is something like 16 or 17 deaths. So we pretty much cut our best war this season in half. And I thought we lost. And then about 2 hours later, when I'm leaving lunch, I go to our group chat and I see this. And I'm like, what? We won this war? Yeah, I don't even know what to say. Like, I completely thought this was lost. I thought this was a dead lost war, and we pulled it out because of 10% health Killmonger. So thank you, Killmonger. I really appreciate it. I mean, I can't imagine how bad it feels for the guy on the other team knowing that he had the potential to win the alliance, or sorry, win the alliance, the war, and he unfortunately did not. But you know what? A lot of us have been in that situation, and what are you gonna do? But we are gonna, like I said, we did win this war. We are now 4-4 on the season, and my death total is up to 5. Hopefully that doesn't go up for the last 4 wars, but we'll see. And my PSR is now at 47 out of 52 fights soloed, which is 90%. And you know what? A 90% solo rate is not the worst thing. It's not awful. Is it good? Absolutely not. Not at all. It is not good. No way is it good. But it's not terrible. I mean, if the average person in my alliance soloed 90% of their fights, then we would die 15 times each war, which would severely lower our averages as an alliance. So when I look at it that way, I don't feel that bad. But again, I'm not, for my mentality, I'm not comparing it to that. I'm comparing it to what I can usually do. And compared to what I usually do, this is a bad performance from me. So I'm still going to try to be better, for sure. I'm definitely going to try to be better. But we've now soloed 8 fights in a row. A whopping 8 fights. That's our deathless streak right now. And that's all for the video. So I'll see you all later. Bye.